And thank you for everybody who is able to join us from different locations that joining us from. My name is Brazil Musumba, and I'm speaking to you from Nairobi, and I'll be conducting the meeting on behalf of the organizers and everybody who has worked in the back room to make this meeting a success. So we are here for the Horn of Africa and Sahel Virtual Knowledge Share Fair. We have we've been forced by circumstances that you are all aware to go virtual. I'm sure it would have been better if we could have had this meeting physically as we have done in the past. So this is a fair that is organized with the support from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and the two organizations that are in the forefront is the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. This is IGAD, based in Djibouti, that brings together 8 member states from the Horn of Africa, and the other organization is CELES, which is the French abbreviation or acronym for the organization that brings together 13 member states in the Sahel, Western Africa. So this meeting is also funded or supported financially by the European Union. So we are very happy for this organization coming. I have been muted.
Comme l'étude avait déjà été faite là.
Okay, I have. Sorry for the technicality. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay, sorry. So sorry again, I'll have to start from the beginning because I was muted while I was speaking. So basically,
no, you were not muted, Brasile. You were not muted.
Oh, okay. So I guess I don't have to repeat myself. So again, once again, without further ado, and we're running late on our time, is just to welcome everybody to this particular fair that I was saying earlier is being forced by circumstances to go virtual. So without further ado, allow me, with all respect, to welcome our 3 panelists. We will start with FAO. Dr. Abebe Haile Gabriel is the Assistant Director General of FAO and the Regional Representative for Africa of FAO based in Accra, Ghana. Dr. Abebe has a very long CV, which I do not wish to go through, but he brings a wealth of experience to this discussion. He is originally from Ethiopia, from the name. I guess everybody could have gotten that. But he will be speaking to us to set us rolling. So Dr. Bebe, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Brazil. Excellency, Dr. Werkena Gabayo, Executive Secretary of IGAD, Excellency Dr. Jime Adum, Executive Secretary of Sales, representatives of partners organizations, distinguished participants, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings to you all from FAO and from Accra, Ghana. I would like to congratulate our partners, IGAD and SEALS, for organizing this virtual knowledge fair share on promoting innovation to build resilience against climatic shocks. It has been a privilege for FAO to have accompanied the partners, IGAD and SEALS, in this exciting undertaking. And I would like to thank our partners, the European Union, for providing the necessary support. High degree of exposure and vulnerability to climatic shocks characterize systems of livelihoods in much of Africa, particularly in the Horn of Africa and the Sahel, where the continuous struggle to try and eke out a living from a precarious state of affairs has been an everyday way of life for the majority of the populations. The impact of climate extremes have been disastrous. They cause death, displacement of people, and leave many destitute and hungry. Over the last 10 years, climate extremes affected an average of 16 million people and caused hundreds of millions of dollars in economic damage in Africa annually. Overall, it is estimated that the agriculture sector absorbs more than 26% of the total damage and loss from climate extreme events. And this rises to more than 80% when caused by droughts. In countries with a high degree of exposure to climate extremes, the number of undernourished people is more than double than that of countries without high degree of exposure. Most vulnerable groups include women, young children, the elderly, and the socially disabled and isolated. Often climate extremes overlap with other shocks, such as conflicts, economic downturns, transboundary pests and diseases. The recent incidents of COVID-19 pandemic and desert locusts are good examples of overlapping crises and their devastating impacts. The Sahel and the Horn of Africa regions takes the lion's share in this regard. As a result, not surprisingly, these regions manifest one of the highest levels of food and nutrition insecurity in the world. According to the UN report on state of food security and nutrition in the world, 2020, there were about 118 million undernourished people in Eastern Africa in 2019, which would constitute about 50% of the total number for sub-Saharan Africa. Western Africa is a sub-region with the second largest undernourished population, with over 59 million food insecure people. The biggest increase in the number of undernourished between 2015 and 2019 occurred in Eastern and Western Africa. In addition, according to the 2020 Global Report on Food Crisis, 12 million people were acutely food insecure in West Africa and Sahel in 2019, while 27.5 million people were acutely food insecure in East Africa. What is more concerning is that these numbers are increasing rapidly in several countries across the Sahel and Western Africa due to the impact of COVID-19 exacerbating the food insecurity situation. It is therefore necessary to address such high level of vulnerabilities through building resilience of livelihoods and economic systems using innovative solutions. In this context, it's quite befitting that the theme of the 2020 Knowledge Fair Share focuses on promoting innovation to build resilience against climatic shocks. Obviously, it builds on IGAD, SEALS, and FAO's efforts to promote knowledge management for informed decision-making and investment in resilience building, including the operationalization of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between IGAD and SEALS for strengthened collaboration to promote resilience, good practices, and uptake. It's important to recognize that key set of tools and interventions are available to promote climate resilient agriculture and food systems, to drive the food security and nutrition agenda, including risk monitoring and early warning systems, vulnerability reduction and climate adaptation measures at farm and ecosystem levels, risk sensitive and shock responsive social protection schemes and risk transfer mechanisms such as insurance, climate risk governance structures and processes, emergency preparedness and response, among others. It's therefore appropriate that the program of the virtual Share Fair is structured around themes of disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation, social protection, innovative support to agro-pastoralists and pastoralists, information and early warning systems and analysis, and natural resource-based conflicts. This is in line with the priority thematic focus areas for resilience building that were identified during the partners consultation meeting, which took place in June 2019, regions through the virtual knowledge share is expected to support evidence-based decision-making in these key thematic areas for resilience building in Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the good practices and the innovations, including digital innovations to be shared during the virtual share fair, can demonstrate positive benefits, not only for building resilience, but also for sustenance of peace and development at household, country, and regional levels, including through providing opportunities for youth employment and mitigating distress migration. One of the key messages should therefore be about the need to step up investments in innovative practices. Investments in early action could save substantial financial resources that would otherwise be spent on post-disaster rehabilitation. Investments in risk-informed and shock-responsive social protection systems are needed to address the vulnerability of agricultural and pastoral livelihoods, especially in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's therefore necessary to exert maximum and coordinated effort to mobilize flexible funding in support of anticipatory actions to reduce the impact of emergencies and disasters. The good news is that innovative practices have higher payoffs in terms of returns to investment. For example, according to FAO's report on disaster risk reduction at farm level, the average benefit cost ratio for disaster risk reduction practices is 3.7 in hazardous scenarios, meaning that for every dollar invested in disaster risk reduction, the farmers could achieve $3.7 in terms of avoided loss or accrued returns. Under non-hazardous conditions, the ratio could even rise up to $4.5. Building resilience in Africa's drylands has been one of FAO's 3 priority regional initiatives in Africa. The other 2 being ending hunger and sustainable production intensification and value chain development. FAO and its partners use a holistic approach at local, national, and regional levels to reduce the effects of disasters on food security and nutrition. FAO's approach to climate resilience building for agri-food systems is based on context-specific interventions aimed at preventing, anticipating, coping, adapting, and transforming to the effects of climate variability and extremes, while ensuring that these are gender sensitive, inclusive of a wide range of private and public sectors, and with a strong focus on the most vulnerable and disadvantaged social groups, such as youth and disabled people. Climate resilient measures should also benefit from indigenous and traditional knowledge systems. More recently, FAO launched the comprehensive COVID-19 response and recovery program with 7 key interrelated components. This includes reinforcing the global humanitarian response plan for COVID-19, improving data for decision-making, ensuring economic inclusion and social protection to reduce poverty, bolstering trade and food safety standards, boosting smallholder resilience for recovery, preventing the next zoonotic pandemic through a strengthened One Health approach, and triggering food systems transformation. I wish to reiterate FAO's continued commitment to collaborate with IGAD, SEALS, the African Union Commission, and other partners in supporting the efforts of member states in promoting innovation towards building resilience to shocks. I thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abebe, for your remarks, and we really appreciate what FAO is doing in both regions, in the Sahel and in the Horn of Africa. We also want to congratulate FAO for having celebrated the 75th anniversary just about 4 days ago. Indeed, this is a big honor that we have one of our own taking leadership in this part of the world on our continent. So I will invite the next speaker, who is Dr. Jimmy Aduom, the Executive Secretary of SEALS. As I said before, SEALS is a regional organization based in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, and taking care of affairs for nearly 13 countries in that part of the world. So Dr. Jimé, the floor is yours, sir.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le représentant de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Monsieur le directeur général adjoint en charge de l'Afrique, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif de l'autorité intergouvernementale pour le développement IGAD, Mesdames et Messieurs les participants, je voudrais à l'entame de mon propos dire tout l'honneur que je ressens en ce moment précis de représenter ici les populations sahéliennes à cette importante foire au savoir virtuel sur la Corne de l'Afrique et le Sahel et vous transmettre leurs salutations fraternelles. Je voudrais ensuite remercier l'IGAD et la FAO pour tous les efforts consentis pour la tenue effective de cet événement dans le contexte difficile de la pandémie de COVID-19. Ces remerciements s'adressent également aux partenaires techniques et financiers pour l'accompagnement apporté à cette initiative. Mesdames et messieurs, vous vous souviendrez que du 5 au 7 novembre 2013 à Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, le SILS, en partenariat avec la FAO et l'IGAD, ont organisé la foire au savoir au Sahel et en Afrique de l'Ouest. Aujourd'hui, soit environ 7 ans après, nous voici réunis pour le lancement de la foire au savoir virtuelle sur la Corne de l'Afrique et le Sahel. Tout ceci témoigne de la détermination de tous à œuvrer pour la réussite de cette initiative commune qui réunit le Sahel et la Corne de l'Afrique, deux régions qui partagent un destin commun face aux contraintes agroclimatiques similaires dans les deux zones. Cette coopération concrétisée à travers un protocole d'accord entre le SILS et l'IGAD signé en 2013 témoigne de notre conviction que l'union des compétences et des connaissances constitue la voie la plus sûre dans le combat contre la sécheresse et l'insécurité alimentaire nutritionnelle, mais aussi dans notre combat permanent de renforcement de la résilience de nos populations face aux multiples chocs auxquels la Corne de l'Afrique et le Sahel sont régulièrement confrontés et parmi lesquels le changement climatique constitue le plus grand défi. Mesdames et messieurs, chers invités, le choix du thème de la présente foire au savoir virtuel sur la Corne de l'Afrique et le Sahel, je cite, promouvoir l'innovation pour renforcer la résilience au choc climatique, fin de citation, n'est pas fortuit. En effet, dans de nombreuses régions de la Corne de l'Afrique et du Sahel, l'intensité et la fréquence des catastrophes et les situations d'urgence ont augmenté. Les catastrophes naturelles liées au changement climatique, aux crises sécuritaires et sanitaires ont créé des conditions de vulnérabilité chronique. La conséquence visible de cette conjugaison de fait est une dégradation des ressources qui impacte négativement la production agro-silvopastorale, exposant ainsi nos deux régions à une plus grande vulnérabilité aux aléas. Face à cette grande vulnérabilité aux aléas, il nous faut renforcer le partage de connaissances sur la résilience et la coopération entre les régions et cette foire au savoir constitue de ce fait un cadre idéal de diffusion de bonnes pratiques et d'échange d'expériences entre acteurs tant au niveau des programmes que des politiques et stratégies les plus appropriées pour nos deux sous-régions. Ceci justifie les différentes thématiques qui ont été choisies et seront développées au cours de la présente foire, à savoir les systèmes d'information système d'alerte précoce et analyse, la gestion des conflits liés à l'accès aux ressources naturelles, la réduction des risques et des désastres et résilience au changement climatique, le soutien innovant aux populations agro-pastorales, la protection sociale et filet de sécurité. Mesdames et messieurs, je ne doute point que les échanges d'expériences qui se feront autour de ces thématiques permettront de contribuer à la consolidation de la résilience au choc climatique dans nos espaces respectifs. Aussi, permettez-moi de souligner que la foire au savoir, compte tenu de son importance pour nos deux régions, mérite d'être plus régulière conformément aux recommandations de Ouagadougou en 2013 qui proposait une base biennale tournante entre les deux régions. Avant de conclure, permettez-moi de réitérer mes remerciements à tous les partenaires du SILS et en particulier l'IGAD, la FAO et l'Union européenne pour avoir permis la tenue de ce grand événement en faveur des vaillantes populations du Sahel et de la Corne de l'Afrique. Je vous remercie de votre très aimable attention et bonne chance.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jime, for your remarks. And indeed, SILS together with IGAD brings together, I was just doing a quick math, it brings together almost half the member states of Africa. So indeed, we have half of Africa on this platform, plus beyond the continent. Already we have more than 120 participants listening to us, and we welcome them all. Also, let me take this opportunity to emphasize that the theme indeed of this knowledge share fair is promoting innovation to build resilience against climate shocks. It couldn't have come at a better time. So without further ado, let me take this opportunity once again to thank Dr. Jime for his remarks, and to also say that we are very happy that Chad did donate you to the region of Sahel and indeed to Africa, bringing in a wealth of experience. So let me welcome our next speaker, Dr. Wakne Gapie, who is the Executive Secretary of IGAD. IGAD is a regional organization working out of Djibouti, but bringing together 8 member states of the Horn of Africa. Dr. Wakne comes to us having worked with the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia as a Minister for Transport before, and also now as a Minister for Foreign Affairs before he took over his current position at IGAD. So Dr. Wakne, the floor is yours, sir, for your remarks.
Thank you, Brazil. Thank you very much for the introduction. Greeting from Djibouti, the headquarters of IGAD. Dr. Jame Abdoum, Executive Secretary of SILS. Dr. Ababa Haile Gabriel, Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Africa of FAO. Representatives of the African Union Commission and Southern Africa Development Community. IGAD member state partners in the resilience program, humanitarian development and peace agencies partnering with IGAD, representatives of non-governmental and civil society organizations, community representatives, and members of the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking the Permanent Inter-State Committee for Drought Control in the Sahel and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, for co-hosting this very important event. This is an inaugural virtual knowledge share fair that brings together the Greater Horn of Africa and Sahel region and aim to promote innovation to build resilience against climate shocks. In this uncertain time of the pan-regional threats such as the COVID pandemic, unprecedented invasion of desert locusts and extensive flooding in the part of our region, the number of people is said to be double to 54 million if we don't act with urgency. This is a current crisis that our farmers are facing at this particular time, and they are crying for their farm as well as to their future. It provides us with a platform to put together evidence-based response to the triple threat of the pandemic and additional climate-related shocks, such as the devastating desert locust invasion and flooding that have destroyed lives and livelihoods in our part of the world. If adaptation is the key to survival, we must come together to arm each other with the insights and innovations that we need to effectively overcome the multiple hazards. Dear colleagues, IGAD was founded on the notion of building the resilience of communities and state to regional disasters. It has been the cornerstone of our work in the 34 years of our existence as IGAD. In 2011, our commitment to build resilience was strengthened when we launched the IGAD Drought Disaster Resilience and Sustainability Initiative. This 15-year strategy in 3 phases, spanning 5 years each, captures the aspiration of IGAD member states to end drought-related disasters. We are now in the second 5-year phase of the resilience strategy, which is building upon the lessons we learned at the inception. These events therefore serve to showcase of the body of research, innovations, technology, and practices that have been tested and found to be effective in building resilience to climate shocks. This share fair had drawn over a lot of people, capable minds representing a broad spectrum of stakeholders. I thank all of you who are here with us today to share your insights, learn from each other, exchange experiences, and build upon our collective wisdom on what works and what doesn't in regional crisis prediction, prevention, and response. The IGAD and the Sahel region have comparable ecological conditions, share a common heritage of pastoralism, and we therefore grapple with similar challenges as well. Therefore, it has been in the interest of both IGAD and SEALS to strengthen synergy and mutually strengthen the technical capacity of our institutions by establishing an effective knowledge platform. Our landmark collaboration in the regional initiative on resilience in the Sahel and Horn of Africa, IGAD and SEALS have documented and exchanged resilience-enhancing practices across their member states. The lessons learned from this initiative have been used to inform policy formulation and programming. Even though we still face formidable challenges, dear colleagues, I believe that we have made significant progress towards reducing vulnerability to climate shocks. I call upon all parties here to rededicate ourselves to pursuit of this objective and continue working together through knowledge exchange and collaboration between resilience actors. To conclude my speech, I would like to thank FAO, who have continued to be our steadfast partner that throughout this endeavor, and we are very thankful, especially for cooperation on fighting this desert locust. IGAD sincerely appreciates their continued support to knowledge management initiative in the IGAD and Sahel regions. Finally, I want to reiterate my commitment to enhance knowledge management for resilience building and sustainable development, and wish you all a successful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wakne. Always a pleasure to hear from you. And indeed, the two organizations, SEALS and IGAD, are twins because the subject area that you tackle is very similar, and you have embraced other related challenges that the two regions are tackling. Therefore, thank you very much for your remarks. And just to let you know that the fair started actually yesterday on the 19th, and it will be going on until 23rd of this month. And therefore, I call upon all the participants who are now going beyond the 130 who've joined us today, and you're most welcome to really get to interact with the program, a very rich program that we have that has been put together with the three organizations, FAO, SILS, and IGAD, with the support of European Union. So without further ado, we are coming to the end of this opening session, and moving on in the next slightly less than half an hour to our first main session or plenary session, parallel sessions that will be following from around 12:15. So once again, let me thank all the organizers, people who've been working in the back room to make this opening session and subsequent sessions a success. We look forward to seeing you in the next session starting at 12:15 East African time. I know some people are very early in the morning in other parts of the world. So once again, thank you. It was a pleasure being your host, and thank you everybody who was able to join us this morning. Thank you.
Brasile, if I may, this is Frederic from FAO. On behalf of all of our colleagues, also from IGAD and SILS who organized this meeting, since we have a little bit of time left on this opening session, and thanking very much our distinguished speakers, since it is a share fair, we'd like to take the opportunity of the chat room to ask our participants what they would like to learn, what they expect from the share fair, inspired by the three speeches that we heard. What would they like to learn from this share fair? The chat box is open, and so we will see how we can respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frederic. In fact, sorry for I just realized we have, though we started late, we managed to catch up pretty well, courtesy of the three speakers who kept to limited time that there was allocated to them. So I've been seeing some comments on the chat. If we could just, if anybody could raise a hand and maybe put a question or a comment. The floor is open.
It's okay, it's a beginning. People are still shy a little bit. We have 3 full days of sharing, so we can wait until the sessions to exchange if people, so.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't want to muzzle or stop anybody who might have had a burning issue to raise. But as Frederica said, we have 3 or so days coming that we will be interacting one-on-one in the parallel sessions and in the main session. I see a comment about the last speaker not being audible. I think the instructions, if we can just go back to the guidelines, please make sure that you have picked the right language. There you are, the housekeeping rules, the guidelines. Please familiarize yourself with them. That way then the technology will be able to serve us better. So, dear colleagues, anybody with a comment?
Mr. Moderator?
You're most welcome. Go ahead.
If you allow me. My name is Martin van der Knaap, and I'm the Fishery and Aquaculture Officer of FAO in the sub-regional office for Eastern Africa based in Ethiopia. Distinguished participants, I was very much impressed by the opening lectures. I have one question. It is, we expect quite a number of suggestions for investment in the coming presentations. What is the position for resource mobilization? If we find very interesting applications that will really have an impact, how do we get the funding? That is, I think, one of the questions that we should ask at the end, but since our distinguished colleagues are still here, perhaps they could have, they could share their views on that. Thank you, over.
Thank you very much for that intervention. I see also another one that is coming through from Abebe Tedege from ICPAC, that is the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center out of Nairobi. And he's asking, are we coping well with the climate shocks, that is drought and floods that are happening in different parts of the continent and the world at large? Are we coping well with the climate shocks? So do we still have any of our panelists who wants to react to the question that has been put forward?
I can take a stab at one of them.
Please go ahead, Dr. Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comment with respect to the breaking down border barriers and interacting more in area of economic cooperation. This is really, yeah, in addition to climate change, this is one of the most frustrating and maybe the most handicapping area in which a lot of progress needs to be made. For example, the region here, at least Sahel and West Africa, countries, commerce, they exchange about maybe between 12 to 15%. That means almost 80% of raw materials, or les matières premières, as they say, goes outside, it is transformed and brought back. And you all know, we all know that if you send out your raw material to be processed, value added, then you certainly miss the opportunity of creating jobs and wealth. So consequently, what we need to do is to look at the policies that are maybe hindering the opportunity for countries to do business among themselves. I don't know about the East Africa region, but at least in this, on this end of the wood, we need to do much better, and going up to maybe 25, 30% with the help of the African Union certainly should be a target. And we can no longer afford the opportunity to be sending out raw material, get it processed and bring it back, because we miss a great deal. The last thing I want to say is that at a minimum, and according to statistics from FAO and other, this Africa, this sub-Saharan Africa, sends out about $50 billion annually importing food. And naturally, we have a lot of land, a lot of opportunities. And so if we get everybody together, private sector, public policy makers, NGOs, everybody on this together and say, what exactly is the problem? And can we design joint strategies to get to the root of that problem? I think COVID-19 has brought us an awakening, and it's about time that we seize the opportunity. The last thing I want to say about climate change, that this is your business and our business and everybody's business. But climate change is actually, I'm trying to call it climate deregulation, basically. Climate has been changing for a long time. And nowadays, Either it rains a lot or it doesn't rain. And when it rains, it floods and then brings about destruction or what have you. So that means we need to shift. We need to shift our thinking with respect to, okay, what is that? If it rains a lot, how can we capture that water and use it for additional cropping systems, cropping seasons? And if it doesn't rain a lot, can we sustainably look at water harvest technologies, strategies, putting into the context of environmental, sustainable environment and SLMs, so we can really be able to cope with it, live with it, and do a good job in surviving. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Jime, for your input. And do we have our other panelists who wants to contribute to the same?
Mr. Moderator, may I chip in?
Please go ahead, introduce yourself, and please make a contribution.
Thank you very much. I'm Derbe from Ethiopia, Agriculture Research. We do know the cooperation of FAO, IGAD, and the rest of the organizations with regard to combating common enemy, such as locusts, climate change, and name it. Although climate change is something that has been there forever, it might be there even to the next. However, we have seen the devastating aspect of locust, unlike the rest of the years, where the control was really very much so, and the spread of locust was not oversized, but desized not to spread as it is now. My question is, what went wrong this year to control the spread of locust that is devastating our resources in the Horn of Africa, in particular in my country? Back to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that intervention. Also, you are raising a question that is repeatedly being put forward. We know, working with FAO, the Desert Locust Control Organization, and many other partners in the Horn of Africa, the challenge of, or the disaster of locust has to a large extent been managed very well, despite the circumstances that we are operating within at the moment. I'm sure the other panelists might want to rein on as to their experience dealing with this disaster that took quite a bit, almost a triple disaster in the Horn of Africa. Any panelist who wants to rein on this?
Brasile, if I may, after, if there is a panelist that will choose to answer, and then we're going to have to let participants hop on the next plenary session with the link that was put on the chat box. So feel free to close the session when you find it a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. I just want to hear if any of the panelists wanted to rein on the questions or comments that have been made by the participants as we prepare to move to the next session. I don't see any, but the questions that have been put forward, these are things that I think we'll be dealing with in the course of the next 3 or so days, starting in a few minutes and moving forward tomorrow and the day after. So once again, now it is almost 7 minutes to 12 noon in East Africa. And I think we need to give time to the participants to prepare to move to the next session. Once again, thank you for all that were able to join. And we look forward to seeing you in the next session. And the questions that are being posted on the chat box will not go to waste. So we will make sure between us, the organizing team, to make sure that these questions get to the next parallel session. Thank you, and I beg to close at this moment in time. So you can leave at your own pleasure and join the next session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again.